super lucky disaster man. Chapter 6. What are you doing to my senpai? The rain started falling heavier, prompting Komaeda Naruto and Dazai-sama, who were without umbrellas, to quickly come to an agreement. Holding the hair tip is possible, but holding my hand up that high all the time is too tiring, Dazai-sama said reasonably. How about I hold your hand? Komaeda Naruto raised his arm and offered his left hand. There's a convenience store next door. I'll go buy an umbrella. Dazai-sama naturally took Komaeda Naruto's hand, as if it was the most normal thing for two grown men to do. Then let's go. He had noticed that the convenience store offered free umbrella rentals, but considering Komaeda Naruto's luck, borrowing one might mean it would never be returned. So, he opted to buy one directly. He was curious about Komaeda Naruto's luck and wanted to test it out with this unusual request. Although nothing had happened yet, he felt he had to try it. What if it was like Oda-saku said, just a coincidence? After all, some things in the world defy logic. Not only was Dazai-sama curious about Komaeda Naruto, but Komaeda Naruto was also very curious about Dazai-sama. The same name as a famous writer, very capable and intelligent, yet he never wrote any book. Instead, he joins the Mafia. In this world where supernatural powers exist, Dazai-sama had the ability to nullify supernatural abilities, an ability that was deadly to those with abilities. The more Komaeda Naruto understood Dazai-sama, the more he saw a shining hope in him. This increased his tolerance towards Dazai-sama. Despite facing the convenience store clerk's odd looks because of Dazai-sama, it didn't bother him, as he was used to others' strange gazes. Komaeda Naruto held two umbrellas, but Dazai-sama put one back. Komaeda Naruto looked at Dazai-sama, confused. Dazai-sama sighed. You haven't forgotten our current situation, have you? Sharing an umbrella is more convenient. Passers-by's curious looks were secondary, the rain and the umbrella would obscure most of the view. Japanese people generally don't pay much attention to others, and opening two umbrellas would mean maintaining a distance, which was impractical. I see, Komaeda Naruto said, understanding. He put one umbrella back and went to pay for the other. The cashier smoothly processed the customer ahead, then turned to them. I'm very sorry. The cashier carefully looked at Komaeda Naruto and Dazai-sama, particularly focusing on Dazai-sama's formal black suit. The machine suddenly broke down. Could you please wait a moment? Komaeda Naruto responded habitually, sure. Dazai-sama. He glanced down at his hand holding Komaeda Naruto's wrist, confirming that they were still in contact. Was it just a coincidence? His ability hadn't suddenly stopped working, right? Dazai-sama was deep in thought. The cashier struggled with the machine for a while, then called the store manager. The manager studied it for a long time but couldn't fix it. He looked at the time, then at the pouring rain outside, and finally waved his hand. Sorry for the inconvenience. You can have the umbrella for free. The manager saw that they only have one umbrella, so he opted to give another one to Dazai-sama. Dazai-sama. They entered the convenience store to buy one umbrella, stood there for a while, but ended up getting two for free as compensation. Komaeda Naruto had no objections and thanked the manager before opening the umbrella. Dazai-kun? Komaeda Naruto called, seeing Dazai-sama lost in thought. Shall we go? Ah, Dazai-sama replied absent-mindedly, stepping into the umbrella's cover. Despite the oddity of the convenience store event, Dazai-sama wasn't ready to give up. He planned to continue testing Komaeda Naruto's luck. However, sharing the umbrella required both of them to hold the handle together, maintaining contact with each other's hands. Dazai-kun is so considerate, Komaeda Naruto said emotionally. He thought that the previous event was enough to prove that he has no ability. Dazai-sama looks at the approaching station. There are many coincidences in the world. Komaeda-kun, what do you think will happen next? Komaeda Naruto laughed suddenly, returning with an unrelated topic. Dazai-kun, what do you think luck is? Dazai-sama answered casually, in literal definition, it's the opposite of misfortune. Oh, but misfortune is also a part of luck for me? Komaeda Naruto stopped at the station. Dazai-kun, you know I didn't mean the literal definition. Dazai-sama corrected himself, then I'll be direct. For you, luck is uncontrollable fate. With your will, it's difficult to control this kind of luck. Most of the time, you can only drift along. Your life is driven by luck, not by you. Dazai-sama's tone was pitiful, but his eyes were steady. If it were an ability, there might be a way to suppress it. But if it's not, then this person is unsalvageable. Komaeda Naruto chuckled, that's right. Luck is an absolute, hard-to-control force for me. So, I can't predict what will happen next. Dazai-sama asked, so, it's possible we could wait here all night and still miss the bus despite it's not the time for the last bus? Komaeda Naruto is unsure, it's possible. In the past 10 years, I've encountered such situations less than 7 times, usually due to road collapses, accidents, or other unexpected events. However, the road ahead was just inspected, so. Dazai-sama. Your daily life is really interesting. I've never experienced anything like it. These details couldn't be comprehensively recorded, even by someone gathering intelligence. Only the person involved would know. Don't worry, Komaeda Naruto suddenly sighed with relief. The bus is coming. It wasn't yet rush hour, so the bus was relatively empty. Komaeda Naruto let Dazai-sama board first, then followed. Hi, Kudo-kun. Sitting in the second row, Komaeda Naruto recognized a familiar face. The owner of that face hesitantly greeted him. Komaeda-senpai, good evening. What a coincidence. The one called Kudo-kun by Komaeda Naruto was a junior named Kudo Shinichi. His father was the famous detective novelist Kudo Yusaku, and his mother was the retired actress Kudo Yukiko. Kudo Shinichi himself was well known at Teitan Junior High, smart and well-liked. Despite being in different grades and not sharing any clubs, they knew each other because Kudo Shinichi had once sought out Komaeda Naruto for information about the Yokohama Dragon Heads conflict. This is only what Komaeda Naruto know. Like how Komaeda Naruto knows how famous Kudo Shinichi is, Kudo Shinichi also had long known about Komaeda Naruto's legendary reputation. Stories about him circulated at school, each more unbelievable than the last. Yet, every time Kudo Shinichi verified them, they turned out to be true. These types of thing is quite fantastical, most of the time the person themselves have no clue their own reputations. Kudo Shinichi felt fine since he has a certain self-awareness to what his parents bring, and he is a bit of a show-off. He never thought that he won't be famous, and the attitude of people around him further proof this. But on Komaeda Naruto's side, the nature of it is not quite the same. The content of the rumored is too fantastical, it feels like it is gossiping behind his back, so in front of him everything said will be very restrained. The result is that the person in question knows nothing about his own reputation. In short, Kudo Shinichi had known Komaeda Naruto for a long time, so last year, when he had the chance to be acquaintance with him, he searched for him without hesitation, intending to observe this legendary senpai's luck up close. However, now that nearly a year has passed, Kudo Shinichi and Komaeda Naruto have formed a familiar senior-junior relationship, but this initial wish still hasn't yielded any scientific results, and can only get a conclusion that Komaeda-senpai have a constitute that easily get him into trouble. But it is until now that Kudo Shinichi realized that the trouble Komaeda Naruto gets in was worse than he'd imaged. Why were 2 grown men holding hands? Wasn't that man from the Mafia? He looked suspicious. Kudo Shinichi was worried that Komaeda might end up harmed. He couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Though he originally intended to observe, Komaeda greeted him directly, so he couldn't pretend ignorance. Dazai-sama, holding Komaeda's wrist, led him to sit at the end of the row, making Komaeda tilt awkwardly to one side. He hurriedly nodded to Kudo Shinichi before sitting down. Komaeda-senpai. Kudo Shinichi decided to ask directly. What's going on between you two? Kudo Shinichi's eyes conveyed his concern. Are you in trouble? Is this man threatening you? Oh, he's just an acquaintance. Komaeda Naruto used a broad term to describe Dazai-sama. Kudo Shinichi looked skeptical. He knew many male friends, but none held hands like this. Dazai-sama, enjoying the confusion, sighed. Clearly, I've done so much, yet I'm still just an acquaintance. Kudo Shinichi. Wait, what are you doing to my senpai? Chapter 6 End. Author's note. Dazai, if there was someone with special abilities who could investigate more thoroughly and find out information that only the person concerned knew, that would be great. Engo. Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 7, What are you laughing at? We're hijacking. Hearing how Dazai-sama deliberately causes misunderstanding, even Kudo Shinichi couldn't help but look towards Komaeda Naruto, intending to get some information. Senpai. Are you really fine? Even if he is really trying to cause me to misunderstand something, to be able to say these words, Senpai, he must have done something to you, right? Komaeda Naruto helplessly laughed and said, it's just because it suddenly rained and he didn't want to return to Yokohama, so he's staying over at my house for the night. Kudo Shinichi instinctively looked at the hand that Dazai-sama is holding. But this still doesn't explain why you guys are holding hands. Komaeda Naruto thought for a moment. There is a reason for this. You can consider it as an experiment. Don't worry, to Dazai-kun, I don't have anything worth scheming for, right? Kudo Shinichi. Experimenting to see how people on the street react to you? No one cares about this. Although he was cursing in his heart, Kudo Shinichi still gently breathed out because, based on his observation, Komaeda really did not seem to be forced. Judging by their similar ages, maybe they really are friends. Dazai-sama refuted Komaeda Naruto's words, there's a lot worth scheming from you. For example, money. The port Mafia is currently very short on money. Their capital is always tight, and they can only rely on black market activities to barely make ends meet. Once they digest all the benefits picked up in the Dragon Heads conflict, will they truly become the Yokohama underworld ringleader? Although it doesn't look too obvious on the surface, Komaeda Naruto is worth several hundred million yen. He doesn't even need to do anything, constantly buying insurance for himself is the most promising investment. However, there isn't much to take advantage of now, because according to risk assessment, Komaeda Naruto has probably entered countless insurance companies' blacklists. Just like no insurance company is willing to sell to a 90-year-old person with serious disabilities, this is obviously a lost cause. Speaking of this, Dazai-sama asked, when did you buy today's insurance? Komaeda Naruto bought so much insurances that even if Dazai-sama looked at the information, he wouldn't pay special attention to it. In 3rd grade, my mother bought specialized assistance and kidnapping insurance due to the number of missing children incidents at that time. Komaeda Naruto remember back, she bought for 50 years worth. My mother was really looking out for me. There was also lifetime accident risk insurance. When I was young, my mother was worried, so she bought a lot of strange insurances, such as being unmarried and single before 30, alien abduction risk, and disfigurement risk. This insurance company hasn't closed down yet? Kudo Shinichi exclaimed, these items are all so strange. I've only seen alien abduction risk in American newspapers. I thought it was an American specialty. Why does Japan also have it? It feels like an IQ tax. It's the Tei Corporation Insurance Company, so it wouldn't close down. Komaeda Naruto smiled heartily. However, when I handed over the documents today, the person's complexion wasn't very good. Possibly because I've been kidnapped too many times this year. According to the insurance regulations, they must compensate several times that. Kudo Shinichi was convinced. But does this kind of insurance base on the number of times kidnapped? What is the ultimate reason for this insurance? Oh, I get it. The rich specialize in this kind of insurance. Except for the victim's delusional disorder, only rich people worry about being kidnapped all day. Moreover, the number of times kidnapped may really exceed twice a year, so buying this kind of insurance is also profitable. But the insurance company bets on the insured remaining safe or being killed after being kidnapped, so there isn't a second time. To tell the truth, kidnapping for ransom probability is still wildly high. The insurance company is really not stupid. This kind of insurance price will also be higher and might include conditions like needing to report the danger upon receiving the kidnapper's call. Normally, the insurance company definitely earns money out of this. Unfortunately, they met Komaeda-senpai. He felt that the money earned from other customers will ultimately go to cover Komaeda-senpai's claims. According to what he knows, this year Komaeda-senpai has been kidnapped 3 times, and the year isn't even halfway over. Speaking of which, you were kidnapped again. This frequency, the insurance company will feel suspicious, right? Komaeda Naruto sighed. Definitely. Every time I have to be investigated for half a day to ensure I haven't conspired with the kidnappers. According to the contract, if I did, I must compensate them 10 times and be blacklisted. Any insurance I buy from them will become a waste. Kudo Shinichi. This, Tei Group. They're very methodical. If it were any messy small company, they might use dirty tricks to get rid of this terrifying customer. Dazai-sama pondered. I remember Tei in recent years investigated you, 1 person died, 2 were seriously injured and retired, and that year the insurance department leader was caught for tax evasion. Komaeda Naruto pinched his chin and thought. No impression. I don't pay too much attention to this kind of thing. Generally speaking, my cooperation with Tei Insurance is very happy. Dazai-sama nodded and didn't say anything. Of course, it's happy because if they make you uncomfortable, they will either go to the hospital or the police station. Kudo Shinichi. So, Tei Corporation is indeed not clean. Not unexpected. The 3 of them chatted like that. On the surface, it was not bad, but in reality, Kudo Shinichi's wariness towards Dazai-sama never let up. Like Tei Corporation investigating Komaeda, things that Komaeda-senpai himself doesn't know about, this guy knows better than the person involved. Isn't that very strange? Obviously, he investigated Komaeda-senpai. Komaeda-senpai is also a smart person. It's impossible he doesn't understand what he hears, but looking over, he completely doesn't care. Kudo Shinichi is confused. Is it because Komaeda-senpai's personality is actually very strange so he doesn't mind being investigated at all? If it's a mafioso, investigating someone before approaching them might just be a habit, and not necessarily because of malicious intent. Wait. Speaking of which, how did Komaeda-senpai get to know Dazai-san? Kudo Shinichi naturally brought up this topic as they were talking. This question was answered by Komaeda Naruto. It was when I was kidnapped in Yokohama on Friday. The kidnappers were dead. Dazai-kun happened to pass by, helped me untie the rope, and also lent me his cell phone to call the police. When Kudo Shinichi first heard about this, he almost thought it is just what good citizens would do. But thinking carefully, it could really be a scheme for Komaeda-senpai, wanting to use a friendly attitude to approach him. Perhaps it is to take advantage of the kidnapper's plan. This morning my subordinates mistakenly captured Komaeda-kun. I went to rescued, and we met again in the afternoon when I came to Tokyo. What a coincidence, right? Dazai-sama smiled and asked. Kudo Shinichi's heart sank. Is this provocation? How can there be such a coincidence? Thinking of Komaeda's constitutions, Kudo Shinichi isn't too sure. Komaeda Naruto looked at his kohai's changing expression, leaned close to Dazai-sama, and whispered, "Don't tease him anymore." Seeing his many thinking expressions is very interesting, don't you think so? Dazai-sama lazily smiled and said, dedicated to being a detective, the guy's brain is indeed quite good. Kudo Shinichi squinted his eyes and looked towards them. Hey, I heard that. It is better to play with them if the brains are good, right? What kind of person is Komaeda-senpai befriending? How evil. However, he can temporarily rest assured. At least looking at this situation, Komaeda-senpai wouldn't have any problems tonight. If there are any problems, he will ask tomorrow. There is a lot of thing that is inconvenienced today with this mafioso here. At this time, the bus came to a stop. Not a moment later, Dazai-sama said, "We will get off at this bus stop." Kudo Shinichi was surprised. Ah. This isn't Komaeda-senpai's stop, or could it be that he moved? Or maybe switching cars at this bus stop. But wouldn't it be too roundabout? Dazai-sama not only said, but he also directly stood up, pulling Komaeda Nagito's hand right to the back door. Komaeda Nagito obviously didn't know what was going on. He doubtfully followed a few steps. What's wrong? Someone wants to hijack this bus. Dazai-sama boredly said, "I'm very tired today. I want to rest early." Just happened to be still within the range to hear their conversation. Kudo Shinichi momentarily paused to understand the logical relationship of this sentence. Someone wants to hijack this bus equals somehow Dazai-sama saw through this equals solving this needs energy and mental strength, but Dazai-sama is tired today equal decisively get off at this stop to avoid trouble altogether. This logic is really mafia to the point that Kudo Shinichi finally understood the meaning of this person's mafioso identity. The fake harmonious and friendly atmosphere that was built from chatting just now instantly vanished. Kudo Shinichi did not say anything. He knew that it would be useless, might as well quickly investigate a bit, finding how Dazai-sama came to this conclusion. It was fine before the bus stopped. That means he must have discovered something just now. The three people who came on are the most suspicious. "Driver, open the back door." Dazai-sama was already calling the driver. The people who wanted to get off at this stop have already gone, so the door is already closed. To open again will take time. But at this moment, one of the passengers who just got on was heading towards the back of the bus, because the floor was wet causing them to accidentally slip and fall. It also caused a thing in his jacket's pocket to fall out. In the bus most of the people were closing their eyes to rest. They did not want to open their eyes despite hearing the noise, but Komaeda Nagito and Dazai-sama didn't have that option. Both saw the gun on the ground. The atmosphere suddenly quieted down in a blink of an eye. Dazai-sama wanted to step forward, but the pull on his hand made him suddenly realize that he was still holding Komaeda Nagito. Just that moment of hesitation, the person who was closer to the gun immediately picked the gun back up, pointed towards the driver. "Drive." The driver immediately stepped on the accelerator. The hijackers' accomplices stopped pretending, pulled out their gun one after another, pointed at Komaeda Nagito and Dazai-sama. Dazai-sama was dissatisfied and voiced his resentment. "We clearly told you to open the door first. Why did you decide to listen to him first instead?" Kudo Shinichi almost wanted to shout out, "Because he has a gun." Is now the time to say this? This kind of situation, Kudo Shinichi could only hope that this mafioso also brought some weapon that could be used for a moment, because he still had not thought of any good strategy that could solve their current problem. Komaeda Nagito also had the same idea as his kohai. "Dazai-kun, you carry a gun?" "No, I don't have the habit of carrying a gun. If there is a request, I'll directly take it from my subordinate." Dazai-sama sighed. The result is still like this. It's not like he's unable to solve these hijackers. He's mainly worried that Komaeda Nagito's luck will make things complicated. There are all kinds of special departments gathered here in Tokyo. The situation is different from Yokohama. It's better if he keep a low profile, so he thought of getting off the bus. The result is he still can't avoid it. But this is also within his expectation. In the shortest time, he should subdue this situation before it becomes more complicated. Dazai-sama looked at the gun's muzzle in front of him, suddenly asked, "Do you hear a crackling sound?" The hijacker who fell down was stunned, hurriedly took off the backpack, pulled out the zipper and saw. Oh no, the bomb's timer has started. The whole bus. The other hijackers immediately got angry. "Where is the controller?" "Here." "Ah." Suddenly a sudden break, A car of people all fell left and right. The hijackers immediately watched helplessly as the controller flew out of their hands, then by inertia, fell into the hands of another person. The bus recovered steady control. Komaeda Naruto held the controller that fell from the sky. In the crowd of people watching intently, with an innocent expression he laughed and said, "Haha, my luck is really not bad." Chapter 7 End. Author's note. Dazai, I knew it would turn out like this. There's no need to do this experiment. It's not an ability at all. Author, Dazai not carrying a gun is canon. Chapter 8, The hijackers broke down in despair. For a moment, the entire car was silent, only the sound of the bus running remained. Komaeda Naruto looked at the controller in his hand and fell into deep thought. Stop is which button? Dazai-sama reached over to look, stretched out his hand and pressed this. Kudo Shinichi was fine, knowing that Dazai-sama was a mafia, he should understand, but the others felt their hearts stopped. Especially the group of hijackers, because too many things happened in a short period of time, leaving them unable to digest what Dazai-sama meant when he said, "Do not carry a gun," directly panicked and said in unison, "Wait. What do you understand? Don't press anything. What if it explodes?" The closest hijacker instinctively rushed forward, wanting to take the controller, but Dazai-sama was closer, so without any hesitation, he pressed the button that he had set his sights on. The hijackers immediately froze as if they had been pressed the pause button. Everyone else also stopped breathing, their eyes widened. Only the driver was anxiously driving, while observing the situation through the rear-view mirror, taking advantage of the moment when no one was paying attention to himself. He secretly pressed the distress button. Dazai-sama discovered something was wrong, and pressed it again. Is this controller broken? The countdown doesn't stop. One of the hijackers was immediately in despair. I checked it before getting in the bus. How could it be broken? But I pressed it and it didn't respond. Dazai-sama seemed to completely not care about this hijacking situation, and friendly communicated with them, repeatedly presses the button in front of them. You see, no reaction, still no reaction. You let go of our controller. One of the hijackers on the ground finally couldn't bear it anymore, looking at how the controller could be broken, then there should be no need to be cautious about it blowing up, so he stopped hesitating, and directly rushed up. On the other hand, the two hijackers stared wide-eyed and gaping, flustered. They could only mechanically use their gun to sweep back and forth at the other passengers, intending to make this group of panicked people calm down. Damn, they themselves couldn't calm down, and still wanted others to calm down. This was too difficult. Who planned it? Oh right, there aren't this many strange things in their original plan. If they had known, they might as well just let those two people get off the bus earlier. After all, even if they get off the car and call the police, waiting for the police to come requires time. Sigh, everything is ruined from just one mistake. With this many variables, it really makes the hijackers despair to the point of going bald. In the end, the hijackers' leader can only choose the most effective method and casually shoot at the window. Everyone immediately quiets down. The leader also gently exhales. Quiet, you. Open the window a little wider. He pointed at the passengers who were trembling and fully opened the window that was originally half opened. The leader turned his head to his companion and said, "Throw your bomb away." He had not finished speaking. The companion suddenly panicked and loudly yelled, "Wait, how come there are only 30 seconds left?" Leader. The leader immediately turned his head to look towards the direction of the hijacker who had snatched the controller. At this time he discovered that his companion had been subdued. The youth, who was wearing more mafia-like clothes than their own, was sitting on his companion's back. The youth's feet were stepping on his companion's head, seeming to be studying the controller. Just now you guys seem to have hit the start button. Standing at one side, the silver-haired youth pondered. So only the stop button was broken? Is it the time to talk about this? Why was only the stop button broken? Can't they all break if they want to be broken? The leader's face was in despair and rushed forward, snatching the backpack from the seemingly still trembling companion's hand, that led their movement to be very slow, directly throwing it out the open window. The driver also didn't stop to quickly drive away from the exploded zone. It's until now that the leader completely let out a sigh of relief. He should have done so originally, and not hesitated because of the price of the bomb, thinking whether or not he could still recover the bomb. Indeed, people cannot be without money. If he is a rich person, he will not let things develop to this point before painfully giving up the bomb. But if he has money, why would he still do these things to cause trouble? So this is a paradox. A lot of things had happened very quickly in less than 10 minutes, making the leader unable to help but fall into philosophical self-questioning. The driver also finally let out a sigh of relief. Must know that he has made up his mind just now, to stop the car and open the door despite the danger of being shot to escape. If the problem is solved now, no. The problem is not solved. Aren't there still the hijackers? What if these 2 bags are also bombs? The joy of living is so short-lived. Clearly realizing the reality of the situation, the driver once again fell into agony. The atmosphere inside the bus is very strange. Although they solved that strange bomb just now, the hijackers on the contrary are more nervous than before. The reason is, their companions, clearly holding a gun, their physical strength is also stronger than normal people, but is still suppressed by a skinny-looking teenager, not to mention, the gun also falls into the teenager's hand. This hijacking is really disastrous. However, even if only 2 hijackers left can move freely, the passengers still do not dare to act rashly. After all, they have real guns in their hands. They might also have more bombs in the other backpacks. What if they accidentally start the timer in the process of fighting? The leader adjusted his mood a bit, and began to negotiate. So, we will let you 2 go at the next stop, and let you do whatever you want once you leave. But you can't do anything until then. How about that? His intuition told him that if these 2 people get off the car, his plan would go much smoother. Just now the situation was too chaotic, so he couldn't react, but now that everything calmed down, aside from the silver-haired youth, the black-haired youth who subdued his companion, his suppression method is skillful and practical. Someone with a strong figure like that can't even move in this posture. The way that youth play with the gun exudes a dangerous aura, and recall before how this 2 youth discuss whether they carry a gun or not. The leader faintly wonders whether he had provoked a mafia member or not, but think back, even if this young kid is really a mafioso, he should just be an outside member. He don't need to worry whether they would offend some organization, therefore he think it's better to endure a bit. Not waiting for the leader to come to an answer, a fierce loud explosion sound immediately came from behind. The ground trembled non-stop by this explosion. The bus was also shaking. A burst of loud exclamation instantly filled the inside of the bus. The bomb the leader just threw finally exploded. The leader grabbed the handrail with one hand to stabilize his balance. The other hand also used the gun to point in the opposite direction. His mentality was still calm, because this was within his expectation. However, just at this moment, something happens to the driver. He suddenly let go of the steering wheel, covered his chest, and painfully fell to the ground. Everyone. Kudo Shinichi is also stunned. How could it be so sudden? The hijacker, who was relatively close to the driver, was in despair and rushed forward to control the steering wheel. Until now, 3 hijackers, 1 was controlled by Dazai-sama, 1 went to drive, and the remaining leader alone raised his gun, surrounded by unarmed passengers. The leader was keen to notice. The passengers looked at him with strange gazes. It seemed like the situation had reversed. The hijacker who had grabbed the steering wheel and controlled the bus didn't wait to catch their breath. The streetlights in front suddenly fell down without warning, scaring the hijackers to the point of hastily stepping on the brakes. A car full of people fell left and right again. Kudo Shinichi, who had been looking for an opening, took the opportunity to shout loudly, "Catch them," and rushed over. Quite a few who had been waiting for a long time gained more courage. By instinct they turned towards the hijackers' leader. Therefore, what awaited the hijackers, who stopped the bus after difficulty avoiding the falling streetlights, was raising his hands in surrender and coming down from the driver's seat with a gun pointed at his head, and was tied up by the joined forces of the passengers. Kudo Shinichi personally did first aid on the driver. The remaining passengers called the emergency, others called their family. The atmosphere finally relaxed. Dazai-sama went to look at the streetlights that suddenly fell down. Based on the broken traces, it can be deduced that it is not man-made. The surface is also pasted with repair marks. It seems that someone will come to repair it after several days, but because of the shock wave not far from here has reached this side, causing the streetlights, which were supposed to last for several months, to be unexpectedly damaged and declared out of order. No matter how you look at it, it's just a coincidence. Halfway in, Dazai-sama had already let go of Komaeda Nagito's hand, but everything that had happened within this time was enough for Dazai-sama to feel that even if he activated no longer human, the development of this situation would not have any changes. Komaeda Nagito's luck was truly wicked, and it was even harder to control when it's not an ability. Dazai-kun, you will catch a cold like this. An umbrella appeared over Dazai-sama's head as he squatted by the roadside, inspecting the streetlights. Drenched from head to toe, Dazai-sama stood up and noticed something in his arms. Komaeda-kun, this is a cat. Komaeda Nagito opened the umbrella with one hand, and hugged a wet cat with the other. When I got off the bus just now, I saw it hiding in the grass on the side, and when it saw people coming, it didn't leave. It seemed to be injured in the leg. Komaeda Nagito checked the wound a bit, and felt that the scattered debris had injured the nearby cat when the streetlights had fallen. Right now, everyone was in no mood to take care of the cat, so he could only hold it. This is a long-haired cat. Under normal circumstances it should be a ball of fluff, but at this moment, because of the rain, the fur was soaked. The neck part of the necklace was also visible quite a bit. Dazai-sama reached out to hook the cat necklace, lowering his head to look at the gemstone on it. It is possible that people who do not know will think this gemstone is a fake, feeling that no one would put such precious things on a cat, but Dazai-sama can tell. This necklace with a gemstone should be worth several $100,000. After all, he's not an expert. Dazai-sama's understanding is not deep enough. The valuation is relatively conservative. It seems that it is not an ordinary cat. It probably sneaked out. Dazai-sama is now completely calm in this situation. Even if everyone is shivering in the freezing rain, this person in front of him has picked up several $100,000. He would still feel that this is very normal. Komaeda Nagito took out his phone and took a few pictures of the cat, posted them online hoping that the cat owner could see them, then asked Dazai-sama, "Dazai-kun wants to wait here for the police to come?" "No, I'll go first." Dazai-sama felt that if he came to Tokyo and ended up having to go to the police station to make a report, Boss Mori would laugh to death if he knew. Komaeda Nagito sighed. "Not only did I not help but also delayed Dazai-kun's time. I'm really sorry. As expected, people like me shouldn't have overestimated my own abilities from the start." No, I don't feel like this is a waste of time." Dazai-sama laughed. "It's very interesting to learn. I really thank Komaeda-kun." "Is that so?" Komaeda Nagito once again raised his smile. "That's good." Seeing that Dazai-sama wanted to directly leave, Komaeda Nagito immediately searched through his backpack, planning on giving the second umbrella that they got from the convenience store to Dazai-sama. Because Dazai-sama didn't want to take it before, this umbrella has been placed in Komaeda Nagito's bag. Dazai-sama didn't take it. His tone was gentle and said, "I want to try the feeling of meeting rain. So, see you again, Komaeda-kun. I really look forward to meeting you next time." "What occasion will we meet next time, and in what kind of situation?" Dazai-sama has never looked forward to the future with such anticipation before. This newfound feeling is both strange and unfamiliar to him. Lacking a Dazai-sama doesn't influence much for the police reports. The police leisurely arrived late after hearing from Komaeda Nagito that he is related to Port Mafia, advised Komaeda Nagito to stay away from those people, then letting Komaeda Nagito go home. However, because the event is too strange, the police feel very complicated. Their brain is busy processing the huge amount of information, so they don't have time to listen to Komaeda Nagito about the cat matter. Finally, Komaeda Nagito can only bring the cat back to his own home. Komaeda Nagito has just entered the building to his house. He immediately bumped into the neighbor who was about to go downstairs. Komaeda Nagito very politely greeted. "Good evening, Ayatsuji-sensei." The neighbor who is called Ayatsuji-sensei glanced at Komaeda Nagito. "Good evening, Komaeda-kun. Looks like it is another spectacular day. Moreover, this cat looks very familiar." Chapter 8 End. Author's note. Hijackers, I haven't even had time to say my goal yet. Police. Ah, it does sounds really tragic. Who the neighbor is, should be very clear. Chapter 9, You will definitely regret it. Ayatsuji Yukito, a detective and neighbor of Komaeda Naruto, is known for solving many cases. He is a very famous detective and has an office in this building. Komaeda Naruto moved here less than a semester ago. He usually stays here during the week to attend classes and returns to Yokohama on weekends. He is not very familiar with this neighbor, only greeting each other when they meet. In the beginning, Komaeda Naruto just thought that Ayatsuji Yukito's name is just coincidentally the same as a novelist from the other world. After all, if everyone wants to disappear then disappear together, how can there be only one switch career? The only evidence is not solid evidence. However, after meeting Dazai-sama, Komaeda Naruto reconsidered his neighbor and couldn't help but admit that in this world, that group of authors probably did collectively switch careers. Moreover, with Dazai-sama as an example, Komaeda Naruto speculates that Ayatsuji Yukito also has an ability, so that it fits the law of this world's writer's collective mutation. Initially feeling strange but then familiar, Komaeda Naruto quickly composed himself in front of Ayatsuji Yukito. Unlike today's morning with Dazai-sama, where chaotic memories almost made him say something he shouldn't have. "Do you want to go out?" Komaeda Naruto casually chatted. Ayatsuji Yukito's posture, originally planned to close the door, stopped the moment he saw Komaeda Naruto, once again opened the door, invitingly said, "Probably don't need to, can I have a moment to talk?" Komaeda Naruto was surprised and widened his eyes. "Me?" The next second, Komaeda Naruto immediately guessed something. He touched the little cat that was reluctantly dried from the towel he borrowed at the police station. Did Ayatsuji-sensei accept a job to find a cat? Yes. Ayatsuji Yukito indifferently said, "Please come in." Komaeda Naruto, although he will not refuse this person who also exudes a talented aura's invite, but as he came inside, he cannot help but say, "Ayatsuji-sensei's ability is really too wasteful to use it to find cat, your ability should be used in a more difficult, more meaningful place." "I also think so." Ayatsuji Yukito closed the door, but she really gave too much. Komaeda Naruto. Ayatsuji Yukito, just kidding, we just coincidentally met. In the office a cat meowed and ran over, eyes unkindly stared at the cat in Komaeda Naruto's arm, looking closely, not far away on the rocking chair also curled up a cat. This is the first time Komaeda Naruto entered this office, but he immediately understood when he saw such a scene. It turns out to be a cat lover. Ayatsuji Yukito invited Komaeda Naruto to sit down, then reached out to try to pet the cat in Komaeda Naruto's arms. The cat was very familiar with humans, not afraid at all as it lay on Ayatsuji Yukito's lap, letting Ayatsuji Yukito observe its collar. Slightly swept a few times, Ayatsuji Yukito immediately determined, "I will give its owner a call, do you have any request?" "No." Komaeda Naruto shook his head, "I am satisfied to be able to help Ayatsuji-sensei, your time really should not be wasted on looking for a cat." Ayatsuji Yukito raised his eyebrows. He set up a personality profile in his heart for Komaeda Naruto, but did not say anything on the surface, just that when he called the owner, he explains the situation, then said to Komaeda Naruto, "She just left not long ago, she will immediately return, you want to wait here a bit?" "She wants to personally thank you." Komaeda Naruto has no opinion. Ayatsuji Yukito stood up and asked, "Want a drink? Coffee? Black tea? Carbonated drink?" Komaeda Naruto had helped him save a bit of time, showing a little appreciation is appropriate. Today, he went to the pet store to buy a cat toy and discovered the store clerk struggling to communicate with a foreign customer in broken English. The customer also had an interpreter that spoke with a strange Japanese accent, making the conversation even more difficult. When the store clerk saw the regular customer Ayatsuji Yukito, they immediately felt relieved and saved. Ayatsuji Yukito, seeing that the two are acquaintances, decided to find out what the situation was. It turned out that this rich lady came to Japan for a tour, her cat accidentally escaped, she immediately thought to look at the nearby pet shop to see if anyone had picked up the cat and sent it to the pet shop. That inept interpreter also understood the conversation between the store clerk and Ayatsuji Yukito, said to the lady, "This person seems to be a famous detective in Japan, maybe he can help find Elise." Seeing that they are all cat lovers, and with the added incentive of a generous reward, Ayatsuji Yukito accepts the job, especially since he has been quite idle lately. He didn't expect that after finishing his observations at the lady's rented villa and returning home to drop off his things before heading out for a meal, he would discover that his job's content had been brought back by his neighbor. This money was too easy to earn. Ayatsuji Yukito thought that if Komaeda Naruto wanted, he could just give all the money rewards to Komaeda Naruto. The rich lady was quickly brought over by her driver. As soon as she entered, the cat named Elise sweetly pounced on her, rolling around her legs until the lady excitedly scooped her up into her arms. The lady played with the cat for a while, her mood finally calmed down. "This is indeed my cat, thank you. Is this young man who found her?" "Oh my gosh, Elise is injured. Fortunately you found her in time, otherwise I can't imagine how she survived outside, my poor Elise." "Good child, do you have a bank card? I will return and have people send you the rewards money." "Ah haha, no need, it's just a coincidence, I didn't look for her, it's good that you guys can reunite." Komaeda Naruto has no need for money. Ayatsuji Yukito also said that he didn't do anything and refused the reward. The lady discovered that she actually couldn't even give money even if she wanted to, and couldn't help but admire these two gentlemen even more. "This is my business card." She pulled out 2 business cards from her wallet. "Dr. Hannibal. My psychiatrist recommended that I travel more to relieve my boredom, so according to my travel plan, I will probably return to America in the second half of the year. If you have free time, you can go to America to travel. When you arrive in America, call me. You don't need to bring anything. I will cover the cost for anything you request, please allow me to have a chance to repay you. Otherwise, I will truly be trouble." Ayatsuji Yukito was a mature adult, and was very familiar with this kind of situation. He calmly accepted the business card. "Thank you for your good intentions. I will consider it." As for whether or not to go were 2 different things. In short, if he didn't accept anything, this person would be troubled for a long time. He hadn't even eaten dinner yet. Komaeda Naruto also knew to listen and accept the business card. Unlike Ayatsuji Yukito, he wants to go to America to see talented people outside of Japan. "Thank you, I will also consider." The lady is satisfied and scoops the cat up to leave, leaving Ayatsuji Yukito and Komaeda Naruto staring at each other. Komaeda Naruto self-consciously bid farewell. He ordered lunch before he returned home. It should come by now. He shouldn't affect Ayatsuji Yukito's plan. An ordinary day for Komaeda Naruto passed by just like that. The next day, he went to Taitang High School. Most people didn't know that Komaeda Naruto had been kidnapped again during his 2 days back in Yokohama. Everything seemed normal. During lunch break, Kudo Shinichi, a year younger than him, suddenly ran over and invited Komaeda Naruto to have lunch together. That driver has been having an affair for 6 years, his wife couldn't bear it anymore, changed his medicine, so he couldn't be saved. Kudo Shinichi sighed. If it wasn't for the wife coming to receive the body and accidentally let slip, this matter would have been considered an accident. Komaeda Naruto, as a qualified supporting role, so that's how it is. Kudo-kun, after we left, still went to solve the case? How formidable, as expected of someone who is dedicated to being a famous detective. No, what detective, I'm still far behind. Kudo Shinichi was praised to the point of embarrassment. The murderer herself slipped on accident. This kind of case is really not interesting, not worth mentioning at all. I haven't even discussed it with my father. Then Kudo-kun came to find me, just to say this case is not worth mentioning? Kudo Shinichi was a little confused, vaguely feeling that he was being ridiculed. Although it's not worth mentioning, I want to share it with friends. Moreover, senpai is also considered as a witness in this case. I feel that talking to senpai about this is quite appropriate. Friend. What? Komaeda Naruto's tone subtly repeated a little. Kudo-kun is treating me as a friend? Ah. Kudo Shinichi doesn't know how to talk with a person like Komaeda Nagito. He always feels that Komaeda senpai's focus was always on strange places. Senpai doesn't treat me as a friend? I thought that after what happened yesterday. Haha, I was a little presumptuous. Actually, Kudo Shinichi is not an extrovert person, very few people go in his eyes. He is more curious towards Komaeda Nagito, because they experienced such a situation together yesterday. His feelings towards Komaeda Nagito is a bit similar to being in the same boat effect, feeling closer to Komaeda Nagito when he saw him. That's why he came over to say this and that. However, Komaeda Nagito's indifferent attitude makes Kudo Shinichi suddenly calm down. Komaeda Nagito shook his head. No, to become Kudo-kun's friend, I am actually very honored. But, Kudo-kun decided too early, you should think more on it. Kudo Shinichi is very confident. Senpai is troubling because of your strange luck? I feel that it's still good. It's just good. Komaeda Nagito's tone changed slightly. Even if I didn't get in that bus yesterday, you probably wouldn't have experienced anything like that? Kudo Shinichi's expression was a bit awkward. Senpai feels like that? Because of Senpai's presence. I know what Senpai experiences are a bit strange, but isn't it true that not whatever bad things happen around Senpai are related to you, right? According to the information he found, most of them are coincidences, but the probability of it happening around Senpai is really high, so Komaeda Senpai seems to have always thought that it was his reason. Should he take this opportunity to advise Senpai to not think like that anymore? Kudo-kun. Komaeda Nagito seemed to want to say something, but in the end he just smiled and said, with this kind of casual attitude and wanting to become my friends, you will definitely regret it. Chapter 9 End. Author's note. This chapter, Hannibal is named dropped hehehe, you actually do not need to pay attention to it. It's just a little warning that we're gonna have the United States map. Going to the United States is just mainly for the FBI and black organizations and such. Komaeda's goodwill towards Kudo is actually quite high, because Kudo often come to find him. His attitude is also very natural, and he also looks to be a person full of hope. But Shinichi only understands the surface level Komaeda, moreover he does not believe to what extent Komaeda's luck can do. This then. With the Dragon Head's conflict occurring last year, you can probably guess, Dazai is 17 years old right now, the timeline is 5 years ago. In other words, it's this year that Ayatsuji is known by the Special Division for Unusual Powers. Everyone right now is still free, cherish the last of their free time. Chapter 10, this is not scientific, nor is it an ability. That's what happened, am I being tactfully rejected? On the way after school, Kudo Shinichi despondently shared what happened during lunch break with his childhood friend Mori Rang. He originally didn't want to bring up this matter, after all they are grown up, to be rejected for making friends, it feels really humiliating. But Kudo Shinichi is really famous in school. Komaeda Nagito is also a legendary figure. Before Kudo Shinichi would go to find Komaeda Nagito to ask some things at most. But inviting Komaeda Nagito to eat lunch together is the first time. These bored junior high students don't have anything else to gossip about, so they use this topic to spread the news. The scope of the spread is not wide, but as Kudo Shinichi childhood friend, Mori Rang, still heard about it. On the way back from cleaning the lunchbox, Mori Rang also met Kudo Shinichi, looking at her childhood friend with an expression of depression and a little confused. Unfortunately, there was not much time left before lunch break ends. They were also not in the same class, so she could only ask about it after school. She originally thought to casually bring the topic up, but she did not expect to really discover a problem. Mori Rang on one hand felt that Kudo Shinichi looking like this was very rare, on the other hand she started to seriously help him come up with an idea. I feel that it is not rejection, it seems like he's caring for you. After all, Komaeda senpai often has strange things happen around him, it is normal for him to worry. I already know this kind of thing. Kudo Shinichi dragged out his voice, his tone was unpleasant, but I feel that is just a gambler's nonsense. Gambler's nonsense? It is a thinking that a random event occurs with the probability of occurrence is related to the previous occurrence, like if a coin you throw is always head, then you will feel that the probability of the next throw is tail will increase, but it actually does not affect at all. Kudo Shinichi explained, what those things Senpais encountered are all coincidences, but he seems to attribute it all to his own luck, saying that the more misfortune that happens to him, the more fortunate he will be later. I am thinking, I want to try to persuade him not to believe in any superstitious luck tomorrow. I advise you it is better not to do so. A voice suddenly interrupted. Kudo Shinichi and Mori Rang were startled, hurriedly looked towards the sound, and discovered a person that was completely drenched lying on the riverside. Ah, Dazai-san. Kudo Shinichi was a few seconds late to react who this is, somewhat vigilant to protect his childhood friend. Why are you here? Dazai-sama climbed up from the riverside and brushed the grass off his body. Unfortunately, because he was soaked, the grass stuck to his face and couldn't be removed, so he gave up. With grass still clinging to him, he put his hands in his pockets and calmly replied. While walking, I discovered the water in this river was really clear, so I couldn't help but jump into the water. As a result, I was saved by someone. I had no choice but to rest here for a bit. I originally thought that it would be Komaeda-kun who discovered me. As a result, it didn't go as planned. Kudo Shinichi's mouth corners trembled. There are so many people walking this road. How could it be so coincidental that you're going to be discovered by Senpai? The probability is too small. Don't tell me you believe in Komaeda Senpai's theory, right? So do you think that you are Senpai's luck or misfortune? Dazai-sama did not reply. But Mori Rang was a little uneasy and pulled Kudo Shinichi's clothes. Is it someone you know? Why did he want to jump into the water? Just a personal hobby. Dazai-sama took the initiative to reply, enthusiastically looking towards Mori Rang. However, one person jumping into the water is lonely. Does this young lady want to try it together with me? That would be double suicide. It immediately feels much more romantic. Kudo Shinichi coughed, completely did not want to pursue more on the Mafia's hobby. Even more so, he did not want his childhood friend to be in contact with this kind of dangerous character. Ran, you go home first. This is Komaeda Senpai's acquaintance. I want to talk to him a bit. Oh, okay. Mori Rang suspiciously glanced at the suspicious character Dazai-sama, not too assured, and was reluctant in her every step. When you get home, give me a call. Kudo Shinichi naturally responded with a mouth full of answers, watching Mori Rang's figure go away at the same time. Without turning his head, he asked, what do you mean by what you just said? Advising you not to say strange things to Komaeda-kun. It's not a strange thing to say. Kudo Shinichi turned his head to look at this Mafia that was not much older than himself with a wary and vigilant gaze. This person has a death count up to 2 digits on his hands. How did Senpai provoke this kind of person? Komaeda Senpai always blames the misfortunes that happen around him on himself, so it's not good for him. Making him think less about it is normal, right? I don't think so. Dazai-sama smiled and replied. Kudo Shinichi frowned. Why? Dazai-sama said, even if the eternal luck saying is wrong, then suppose you can convince Komaeda-kun those are all coincidences, although I feel you're not too capable of convincing him. But did you consider the consequences after convincing him? Consequences? Kudo Shinichi was confused. What consequences could this have? He was just helping Senpai recognize reality, right? Dazai-sama still carries that floating smile as before, gently says. You advise him to accept that those luck are all just coincidences. It would also mean that you want to let him realize everything he has lost before, everything he has encountered, actually has no meaning at all. Your parents' death, the hijacked plane, and the hijacked incident resolving have no relation. You think to tell him that? To tell him, actually his parents don't need to die. The plane hijacked incident could also be resolved by other means. Of course I won't say it so bluntly. I also won't use this kind of thing as an example. But you think like that? Kudo Shinichi has resigned. He really thinks like that. The meteorite that killed the hijackers and Komaeda Senpai's parents looked like it has saved Komaeda Senpai's life, but perhaps there originally are brave and resourceful people on the plane who could have helped, or other methods that could stop the hijackers. Even if the hijackers succeeded, they wouldn't necessarily kill anyone. Perhaps they would release the hostages after achieving their goal. The meteorite wasn't the only solution. But the meteorite fell and all other possibilities were wiped out, and after achieving the most tragic consequences, it was also considered to be giving Komaeda Senpai a lucky chance to survive. This was really too strange, too ironic. It was obvious that Senpai had lost his parents, but he was still called lucky by the media, because he was very close to the meteorite. Even his parents died, yet he was safe and sound. Kudo Shinichi seriously doubted that Komaeda Senpai's strange views were brainwashed by these media. How can this be count as lucky? It is obviously a tragic thing, isn't it? Even if the probability of the meteorite falling down is very low, it's not a reason for you guys to turn black into white. In the time with Komaeda Naruto, Kudo Shinichi discovered that Senpai seems to be filled with strange fanaticism towards all misfortunes that happen to him. This kind of mentality has clearly been twisted, leading to Komaeda Senpai's image in everyone's eyes becoming a freak, and he has been unable to make friends. But thinking carefully, if Senpai said such things to every person who wants to be his friend, then it's no wonder everyone would avoid him, so Kudo Shinichi is considering whether to save Senpai a little on this front. It's just that after hearing Dazai-sama's words, Kudo Shinichi hesitated a little towards his own thoughts. Is his thinking wrong? It seems you understand. Dazai-sama said without any care, you are actually destroying a person's mental pillar. Kudo Shinichi said unwillingly, thank you for reminding me, otherwise I might do something irreversible. Even if it is deceiving oneself, if someone gains salvation because of it, he should not go and expose it. Actually, it won't do anything even if you go and say it. Dazai-sama's fake smile hasn't changed at all. Komaeda-kun is a person who is rooted in his own beliefs. His beliefs are so unshakable, it is impossible for you to convince him. This is that person's way of survival. Because he believes that all his hardships are meaningful and will receive equal rewards in the future, Komaeda Naruto can be optimistic like now and look forward to the future. If it's a different individual, when they realize they are constantly losing things, they will be mentally broken and will not have time to think about what they have gained, because compared to things they have not yet gained, they are more sensitive to losing, which is human nature. Even if they have similar experiences, losing similar things, gaining similar things, not everyone can become Komaeda Naruto. Kudo Shinichi breathed a sigh of relief. Sigh, of course, Komaeda Senpai is like that. Not to mention destroying his beliefs, no one can convince him, right? Dazai-sama pondered. If it's me, it should be possible. Kudo Shinichi. So you also feel that eternal luck is too excessive? If you can't convince yourself, then how can you convince others? This person in front of you is probably an exception, saying something on the surface but thinking something completely different in his heart. He should be very proficient. Society people. Just as if he couldn't see through Kudo Shinichi's subtle attitude, Dazai-sama casually said, no, I feel that Komaeda-kun's luck is not scientific at all, but I temporarily can't find a reasonable explanation, but convincing him to accept that everything is a coincidence is probably not a problem. This is not scientific, nor is it an ability. But he is really good at persuasion, on how to break a person's mentality. Dazai-sama is very confident. It's just that he won't do that to Komaeda Naruto. If Dazai-sama doesn't want to break Komaeda Naruto, he won't say anything about this. Suddenly, Kudo Shinichi noticed a black car stopping not far away. That car is here to pick you up? So slow. Fortunately, there is someone who I can use to waste time. Dazai-sama sighed. Used to. Kudo Shinichi's mouth corners trembled. He always felt that this word was very subtle. Changing it to play around didn't seem to affect the true meaning. Dazai-sama seems like he is really just casually wasting time away. He waited for the car to stop, then casually waved his hand as a farewell, got in the car and left. Although he felt that he was being looked down upon, but to be able to say goodbye to this strange mafia, Kudo Shinichi could also be considered to be relieved. Mafia in Japan was legal, but Kudo Shinichi afraid that what Dazai-sama do were not completely permitted by the government. This guy having no fears attitude made him very uncomfortable. He was afraid that reporting him would be useless, and there was no evidence at all. Originally, he thought that taking advantage of the opportunity to talk to each other would lure out some info, but in the end, he was completely unable to carry it out. Yesterday, after returning home, he found that he had been tricked with a lot of lies. Just now, he had not said anything and had already been lectured. Kudo Shinichi gave up, and could only return home to continue investigating the port mafia. He would not be able to obtain any useful information from this person or Komaeda-senpai. If it was Dad, it definitely wouldn't be like him, not being able to get any information. The future famous detective was unwilling to admit his immaturity. So when Komaeda Naruto passed by the riverbank, he discovered Kudo Shinichi bowing his head. His expression can't be seen. Kudo-kun? Are you looking for something? Recovering from his deep thoughts, Kudo Shinichi looked at Komaeda Naruto in a daze. Senpai, how long have you been here? Just now, what's wrong? Nothing. Kudo Shinichi couldn't help but smile, that Dazai-san just left less than a minute ago. Ha ha ha, passed by. He wasted time waiting. Unaware that Kudo Shinichi and Dazai-sama are at odds, after hearing this, Komaeda Naruto deeply felt regretful. That is really unfortunate. We just barely missed. Kudo Shinichi followed to Komaeda Naruto's side. Senpai, that guy is Mafia, right? Isn't it better to avoid him? You can't be prejudiced, right? Komaeda Naruto smiled and said, every industry and every field has the possibility of a talent that sparkles brightly appears. If I miss out because of prejudice, wouldn't that be a pity? Sparkles brightly. Kudo Shinichi's mouth corners twitched. Are you describing diamonds? It is no difference with diamonds, precious and rare, so I am full of expectations for them. Komaeda Naruto's tone rose. Such people, they will definitely be able to do things that the small me cannot do. Kudo Shinichi was powerless to satirize. Senpai, you are really too modest. What is this strange talent-worshipping speech? Even if it is to open a company, it cannot to the extent that every talent in every field must join, right? To insist it to this degree is very obsessive. Sigh, he isn't dared to say anything to this eternal luck philosophy, but to understand the root cause of this strange talent-worshipping attitude should not be a problem, right? Thinking like this, Kudo Shinichi could not help but ask, Senpai, what exactly do you want to do but can't do, and insisted on a group of diamonds to do? Komaeda Naruto decisively and fluently replied, become hope. Ha! This is too abstract. Senpai, you are already in your 3rd year of junior high, is your chinibyu not healed yet? Kudo Shinichi tried to suppress his satirical remarks and continued to ask, what is hope? Hope is hope. Komaeda Naruto turned his head to look at Kudo Shinichi strangely. Can you be more specific? Kudo Shinichi tried hard to describe his thoughts, like, what do you mean by hope? Komaeda Naruto was still staring at Kudo Shinichi, but his blue-gray eyes had lost their focus. It was just a chaotic gaze, he said with a passionate expression. No matter how many times despair devours it, it will not disappear, it's unchangeable, it's an absolute good thing. Kudo Shinichi unconsciously took a breath, and sadness inexplicably rose in his heart. He completely understood what made Komaeda Naruto like this. Too pitiful, Komaeda-senpai. Chapter 10 End. Author's note. Kudo, this is not scientific. Dazai, this is not scientific, nor is it an ability. Using a person outside of Danganronpa worldview to study Komaeda Naruto is the result of this chapter. Shinichi at this time is arrogant and likes to be in the spotlight, in fact until becoming Cole Nong, and after experiencing the Moonlight Sonata event, that he has become mature. Along with readers who don't know Komaeda Naruto, I recommended Danganronpa 2 game plot. No need to watch the anime does not have the game plot, Moreover, people hated it.